Good evening and welcome to State of Business on Art Television. I am Tamiru Nimsat. Let's have a look at the headlines. Colombo Stock Exchange sees optimism in the regime change. Ceylon Chamber highlights 10 key economic priorities for the newly elected president. News in detail. National People's Power Member of Parliament Dr. Harini Amarasuriya was sworn in as the new Prime Minister of Sri Lanka earlier today. Dr. Harini Amarasuriya was sworn in as the Minister of Justice, Education, Labour, Industries, Science and Technology, Health and Investments. The Colombo Stock Exchange closed on a high note yesterday, continuing the bullish trend as it signals a positive response to the swearing-in of Sri Lanka's new president Anurukumara Dissanayake. Market analysts attribute this recovery to the peaceful and smooth transition of power, indicating renewed investor confidence. The benchmark All-Share Price Index (OASPI) witnessed significant volatility early on, dropping over 180 points at the start of the trading session. However, the index rebounded strongly, ending the day with a gain of 130 points or 1.99%, closing at 11,097 points. The more liquid S&P SL20 index also climbed by 1.88%, adding 58.43 points to reach 3,160.63 points. Meanwhile, banking sector stocks played a pivotal role in driving today's market turnover, contributing 36% of the overall 994.3 million rupees in turnover. Despite the bullish domestic market response, foreign investors remained net sellers with an outflow of 5.2 million rupees. Furthermore, Sri Lanka's dollar bonds saw a decline in the secondary market in Singapore, with panic selling of bonds maturing in March 2029, dropping 3.1 cents to 50.2 cents on the dollar, the steepest fall in 2 years. Following the inauguration of newly elected President Anurukumara Dissanayake, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce has pledged its full support and collaboration in driving Sri Lanka's economic recovery and growth. In a congratulatory message to President Dissanayake, the CCC highlighted 10 key economic priorities for his administration to focus on during the first 6 months of his term. Among these critical areas are completing the external debt restructuring, continuing the International Monetary Fund program, and ensuring a successful third review to secure further disbursements. The Chamber emphasized the need for credible revenue proposals to support changes in expenditure without burdening existing taxpayers, along with improvements to the visa on arrival process and the implementation of digital public infrastructure and digital IDs. Other priorities include establishing a national single window for trade to streamline operations, including necessary legislation for economic transformation, and avoiding ad hoc policies that could negatively impact the private sector. The CCC also stressed the importance of continuing trade agreement negotiations with key partners such as China, India, and Indonesia. The Cabinet has approved the National Trade Facilitation Roadmap, marking a pivotal step towards modernizing the country's cross-border trade processes and aligning with global trade facilitation standards last week. This newly approved roadmap serves as the official strategy for streamlining trade procedures, boosting efficiency and enhancing Sri Lanka's competitiveness in international markets. The National Trade Facilitation Roadmap was developed through a collaborative effort led by the International Trade Center with support from the Japan International Cooperation Agency. This initiative was undertaken at the request of the Presidential Secretariat and involved nearly 300 stakeholders from over 70 public and private sector agencies. The comprehensive strategy outlined in the roadmap prioritizes Sri Lanka's commitments under the World Trade Organization's Trade Facilitation Agreement. It aims to improve cross-border trade efficiency, foster foreign investment, and drive economic growth while also strengthening the role of the National Trade Facilitation Committee as a key platform for future reforms. The approval of this roadmap is seen as a significant milestone in Sri Lanka's efforts to modernize its trade infrastructure and align with international standards. It promises to support the trading community, attract more investment, and contribute to the country's long-term economic success. Stay tuned. We will return after this short commercial break. Welcome back after the break. The Commonwealth Observer Group has praised the credibility and transparency of Sri Lanka's 2024 presidential election. The group, led by chairperson H.E. Danny4, emphasized that the election was conducted smoothly at a press conference held in Colombo yesterday. The Commonwealth Observer Group acknowledged the efforts of the Election Commission, commending their proactive role in ensuring a smooth election process. Special recognition was given to polling officials for prioritizing the elderly and persons with disabilities, with stencils provided at polling stations for the visually impaired. Additionally, 4 applauded the introduction of the Regulation of Elections Expenditure Act No. 3 of 2023, which aims to regulate election spending. However, the Commonwealth Group pointed out that despite this legislative progress, the Election Commission lacks the capacity to fully enforce the law, as noted by various stakeholders. Chairperson of the Commonwealth Observer Group, Danny4, said that there is a need to be dedicated educational programs demonstrating the preferential voting system, which led to confusion about how the system works during the presidential election. Chairperson of the Commonwealth, Danny4, said this, speaking at the press conference held in Colombo post the conclusion of election observation duties in Sri Lanka.
The introduction of tactile frame for the visually impaired voters' use of sign language at polling stations and the provision of identification cards for persons with disabilities. Sri Lanka has also strengthened its legislative framework with the introduction of the Regulation of Election Expenditure Act No. 3 of 2023. This is a welcome development. However, stakeholders informed the group that the Election Commission lacked capacity to enforce this law, and we hope that the Commission will take necessary measures to address this. We note the efforts of some civil society organizations who were actively engaged in monitoring campaign expenditure. We note that the Election Commission and other stakeholders, including the media and CSOs, have made significant strides in educating and informing citizens during this election cycle, surpassing previous elections. However, we have noted that there is a need for greater voter education, including dedicated educational programs demonstrating the preferential voting system, which led to confusion about how the system works and how voters cast their ballots in order of preference.
Speaking further at the press conference, Chairperson Danny4 said that to prevent media misconduct, the Media Code of Conduct must be strengthened, especially in regards to the equitable airtime for all candidates.
Media freedom, as enshrined in the Constitution, has largely been respected, allowing the press to cover campaigns and elections without intimidation. Nevertheless, media ownership continues to shape the narrative around elections and key issues. To address this, we recommend the strengthening and enforcement of the Media Code of Conduct, especially in regards to the provision of equitable airtime for all candidates. As with recent elections, political parties and candidates continue to use social media for their campaigns. However, there were concerns about electoral violations on social media, including misinformation and disinformation. We welcome the Election Commission's partnership with CSOs in addressing some of these concerns. We call on social media companies to work with the Election Commission and the relevant stakeholders to address these issues.
Stay tuned for stock update. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on positive notes today. The All Share Price Index gained by 237.31 points to close at 11,334.12, and the S&P SL20 gained by 74.59 points to close at 3,235.22. The turnover was 2 billion rupees and over 95 million shares were traded. Up next are forex rates. That's all our news for today. For this and more, subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. Take care and good night.